our next guest of the day. We're Mr. Bill Earley from Red Cross of, I take it it's Red Cross San Diego and Imperial Counties chapter.
That's right. Great to be here with all three of you.
Great. Well, we have to stop it. Bill's a legend in this town.
I know,
Anyway.
he is.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, it's exciting. I've heard the name for so many years, and to finally meet him, it's just wonderful. And he's sitting next to me, too, so that's great.
Well,
I know.
and it's a pleasure to sit next to you, Urban, and
thank
just
you.
with your amazing background and all the things you have done, but continue to do.
Okay, let's get on to the show now.
I know.
Let's talk about Andrea.
Not very many attorneys or formal attorneys are so well thought of in San Diego.
Everybody talks about you guys.
Well,
Okay, well, let's get on Bill.
Okay.
So your background, you're an attorney by trade first, correct?
Right. So I'm a native San Diegan, San Diego State University, but then went off to law school in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown, came back to work at Loose Forward Hamilton Scripps, which was around from 1873 until, 2012.
Yeah.
And then Loose Forward merged in with McKenna Long and Aldridge, where I was a partner there as well. And then I left that firm earlier this year.
Wow. So that's quite a background in law. Those are some top-notch firms.
Yeah,
So-
a loss for the legal industry, but a gain
Well, you know
for
what?
San Diegans now.
We all have to learn to give back every now and then.
That's right.
I'm not sure anyone's crying about another lawyer who's left the practice of law. The world is a safer place.
I wasn't going to say that. So how did you tie together with Red Cross?
Well, for me, really, since my days at San Diego State, community has been hugely important to me. So I really looked for opportunities to be involved in the communities that I've lived in, and particularly when I started off with the law firm, the firm was so integrated with the community that we really encouraged our junior lawyers to get out there and to give back to a community that gives them so much. And so I really got the bug. I got the bug to be into the community, and just it was through that and through just having that kind of opportunity to meet people in my travels through the community that it kind of set things up for me to have this wonderful opportunity to be involved with the Red Cross and the Red Cross mission.
Well, having been born and raised here, you've seen a lot of change in San Diego. I mean, it's just been crazy in the past, just the past 25 years since I've been in San Diego. But there's also been some phenomenal, amazing things that have happened in San Diego, but we've also had quite a few disasters here in San Diego. Right. And so the community is really dependent on the American Red Cross.
We are. And, it occurred to me when I was thinking about this job, and even before I took it, I started to think about what would we be like as a community if we did not have the Red Cross. And I really shudder to think about that, because we as a community, we kind of, if not demand it, we certainly expect that the Red Cross will be there during our time of need. The challenge for us is, how do we ensure that we have the level of service and the people available to perform the mission function for us, not just when disaster hits, by the way, Andrea, because you raise a really good point, but it's virtually every 24 hours. About every 24 hours, we respond to some type of emergency or disaster. And that could be something like a home fire. For that family that has experienced a home fire, that are displaced in that home fire, that's their Hurricane Katrina. I mean, when you really think about it, that's their moment where they're in most need, they're most vulnerable, and that's where we can be available to them.
Yeah, what's that joker? Every time there's a disaster, there's two people you call. First one's your insurance agent, and the second one's the American Red Cross.
I thought you were going to say you call the attorney
No.
and the Red Cross, and said, well, I guess I have that all wrapped up in one, right?
Well, certainly you do bring, with your legal background, you certainly do bring an interesting area of expertise to this. It's got to be an enormous task as the leader of this prestigious organization.
It you know what, it is a challenge, but it's one that I jump in with both feet, and I'm not doing it alone, and that's the beautiful part of it. And we have such an amazing staff. We have a great board, but I will underscore, it is our volunteers that really help to drive this thing. We cannot achieve and we cannot perform on our mission without our volunteers, who are hugely talented, hugely committed. And I will even tell you anecdotally, we have a couple of volunteers who have been with the Red Cross for over 50 years.
Wow.
Who, I will tell you, and I know your next guest is a triathlete, I would put any of these folks who've been up there for 50 years up against our triathlete friend, because I will tell you, they are energetic, they are enthusiastic, and they just burn inside for our mission. And it is a wonderful thing to see, and I feel so grateful to have this opportunity to be with them.
Well, let me shift gears just a little bit. You talk about volunteers. How can people contact you if they want to volunteer?
You know what? Please do, because we're constantly in search of volunteers and targeted volunteers in cases as well. But they can go onto our website, and they go onto redcross.org /San Diego.
Okay.
And there's a volunteer connection opportunity there. So they can sign up through our volunteer connection. I've done that as well. I experience everything that everyone else does. I take the classes. I recently went through with one of our communication specialists. We went through the CPR, first aid, AED. Barry, you're looking little.
Yeah.
How's that coloring on you?
Yeah.
Okay? You feeling okay? Because I'm ready to go. I'm CPR certified, Barry.
Okay. Well, you might want to go to his gym where he does that crazy, ridiculous spin class every day.
No, that would be like being an ambulance chaser waiting outside the room for the spin people coming out to fall over.
Migrating into lawyers.
Yeah, well, we'll stay away from that.
All right.
So.
Well, you guys, people. I want to actually spend a little time on what the actual mission is, because people think of Red Cross, just like I did initially, major disaster response, but there is so much more that you guys do.
Right. And so, our mission as we describe it is to serve, to relieve human suffering by preventing, preparing for, and responding to emergencies. So that, so it's the preparation, the response, and honestly, if we can prevent in the first place, that's even great. So I'll give you a little preview. We're not rolling this out yet, but I'm giving you a little preview. In October, we're going to roll out a whole prevention model, and we're actually working with our partners over at the Burn Institute to help fire prevention, and really that whole model, because we really think that we can move that needle substantially if we can get more smoke detectors into homes. We've identified some areas within our county that we feel that could really benefit by this. So stay tuned for that. You're going to hear a lot more about that coming up.
That's timely, because isn't October, November, isn't that Santa Ana season? And
we are in fire season. We have a lot of fuel out there, and every morning, every morning when I wake up and I look at the weather reports, I'm praying that we can avoid the kinds of Santa Anas that, in 2003 and 2007 really helped to drive the wildfires in such a devastating way through our region. But we're aware that we live in an area that has that propensity. We live in an earthquake zone, and we had the Napa earthquake just this last week. We're deploying some of our people up there with assistance to our chapter up in that area, and because of that. That is part of the reason why we're going to be launching. September is Preparedness Month, National Preparedness Month, and we're going to be kicking off year 2 of our 4-year Prepare San Diego program, where we're trying to get 1 million actions taken by people in our region to be prepared, and that could include putting together a kit for preparedness, making a plan like an evacuation plan, or taking some other kind of action, like, for example, being CPR certified. And our goal is 1 million actions taken within 4 years, and we've accomplished more than 260,000 so far. That's the good news. The troubling news that keeps me up at night, less than 7% of the people in our region are actually prepared for a major disaster or emergency.
Right. Interesting. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KFSD AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. Here are my co-hosts, Andrea Kay and Urban Miaris. And our guest is Mr. Bill Earley from Red Cross of San Diego Imperial Counties.
Now, getting back to the CPR thing, I was CPR certified back when I was in high school, but it's different now, isn't it? So shouldn't everybody, even if you've already been CPR trained, go back through the course again?
Absolutely, unless you've done it recently, because there are greater minds than mine who understand the anatomy and physiology of the human body that constantly are evolving better techniques. And so, yes, if your certification has expired, then you should get back in and get into a class. We offer those. There are other providers as well, but we offer those. You can go onto that same website where I know your listeners will be volunteering. I'm looking for your 3 names, by the way, too.
Hey, okay.
But we offer those types of classes and more. I mean, what about babysitters? I have a 20-month-old little girl at home, and if her mom would ever, say we'll have a babysitter come in, I would bet that we would feel a lot better if we knew that that babysitter was Red Cross certified in babysitting skills as well.
As well as having that babysitter understand the evacuation plan and where the emergency kit is. Now, do you guys partner with other organizations? I know that I live hillside, and we got to make sure that our house has a certain barrier where we don't have brush right up to our home. Do you guys coordinate with any of the other emergency responders?
We do. We actually have huge level of coordination with the County Office of Emergency Services, with local municipalities, with the fire chiefs, really, and Sheriff's Department. We partner with the agencies that you would think that we would, right? And so what you're talking about, Andrea, is defensible space. And that is a huge issue. And because of our ability to get the message out about some steps that we can do to help prevent or at least to minimize the potential impact or the risk associated with wildfires in that case, we saw it's just this last May that the wildfires that occurred did not have the type of devastation that perhaps it could have, because people actually we were more well coordinated in terms of response. We hit it hard. The military helped quite a bit as well, and we coordinate with the military. Great relationship with them, our service to the armed forces. But all those things together, we're constantly evolving, constantly making things better. So take those classes, be aware of where you live and the risks associated with it, and have a plan. Be ready, because you know what? It's not a matter of if these things will happen, it's when. Yeah. And you know those people who were sleeping in the middle of the night up in Napa, who probably, during the middle of that, they were thinking, I wish I would have, and then insert all the list of things that we're trying to tell people. And we have you don't have to create those lists. We have them available on our website. They can also go to preparesandiego.org.
They have wonderful educational programs. As business owners out there, get in touch with the American Red Cross and see how you can get, whether it's CPR training and all. Not only is it risk management decreasing, but it brings up esprit de corps in the company when all employees are together on a thing unrelated directly to the business itself. Yeah. It's a wonderful asset. I know I've used it in my companies in the past.
Urban, you raise a great point, because we have a Ready rating. It's Ready rating 1, 2, 3, and then go into Ready rating. And we help businesses to actually be prepared. There are 123 different points that we can use. So we encourage people, just put it, just search for Ready rating, and you'll see what we're talking about, and we will help you through that process.
Yeah, there's a duty of responsibility as a business owner, and if something happens, you'll find out what that duty of responsibility is with good attorneys, right?
And disasters, in the time we have remaining, disasters do happen, and there's a lot of different organizations that are fighting for volunteers and for money, and there's also then raises issues of which ones are viable, which ones are the good organizations people should be involved in, and there's also been some bad press recently. How can you make people feel good about any issues that they might have heard about and feel good about your organization?
Well, Andrea, again, a world without a Red Cross, I think, is pretty darn bleak. But the good news is this, that, when I did my due diligence on the organization before jumping on as a CEO, I found out two numbers that were hugely important to me. One number is 91. And that is 91 cents out of every dollar goes towards mission. And that, I know you know how important that number is, because you talk with a lot of nonprofits, so we're very proud of that. The other is 0. And that 0 number represents what do our clients pay for the service that we provide. Wow. So it's through the generosity of American people. By the way, we're not funded by the federal government. Some people mistakenly think that the Red Cross is funded by the feds. We're not. We're funded through the generosity of the American people. And I want to thank those people who have generously donated to the Red Cross. I want to thank them for what they have done, but I also want to thank those people in advance who are hearing my voice now, who are going to go on and become a volunteer and make a donation to us, because we have to be there during these times.
By the way, the American Red Cross is probably the only nonprofit in California that's tax exempt, because they're congressionally chartered.
We are.
All other nonprofits have to pay sales tax.
Wow. Yeah. So, great. Well, we're running out of time. We've got to go into a break. I'm definitely going to talk to you next week, and we'll come back on the show. I would love to put together some events together where we bring people in, do the CPR, do a lot of stuff. So I'll call you next week.
Wonderful, Barry. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for being with us. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are working hard to make a difference in our community. This is financialnewstalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We will be right back after the break with more homegrown business Close Up and Mr. Terry Moore from ACI.